Hey everyone, welcome back. You guys know my name's Kat, and today I want to talk about something today because it's been on my mind, and every once in a while I gotta vent a little bit, gotta talk about whatever it is that has you thinking. So, grab my tumbler, let's head into the kitchen. I can make myself a little drink. Let's talk about Disney Vacation Club. So, as some of you may know, I am a Disney Vacation Club member. And I have a lot to say about DVC, good, bad, or otherwise. There is always a lot to say about DVC. And something happened today that I wanted to communicate with you about because, well, we don't talk too much about DVC. We don't talk about the, bad things that can happen. I say bad so loosely because I don't really mean bad. I mean the things that can happen that sometimes stink. So, let's talk about that. I'm going to sit you here on my kitchen counter for a second. Do you mind? Because I can't do this with only one hand. So let's just have you hang out there right next to the hot dog buns. So I haven't talked to you guys about this as of yet, but I have another trip in the works. And part of that trip is going to be booked with Disney Vacation Club points. Like I said, I'm a Disney Vacation Club member, and when you book, first thing you try and do is book with DVC points. February is my use year, so points became available in February, and I decided, hey, I'm going to book a week. And one of the things that has been happening a whole lot recently is a complete lack of availability of Disney Vacation Club rooms, especially deluxe studios. I'm going to reach into the fridge here, so I might disappear for a second. So, I'm back. Disney Vacation Club rooms have been, well, they've always been kind of hard to come by, despite what DVC advertises. I have a lot of different theories about this. I know a lot of people right now are talking about everything that's been going on with the pandemic and how that's impacted how often you can find DVC rooms. But the truth is DVC rooms have been hard to come by for years. I think there are too many members. I think that Disney is selling too many Disney Vacation Club memberships, and that ultimately means that DVC members get less out of their membership. That's a conversation for another day. Anyway, so filling up my bottle here with some ice cold water from the fridge. So I finally find a week, an entire week, where I have a room at one hotel. And I know that some of you who have followed along with my videos know that in spring of 2021, I stayed at 6 different resorts in 2 weeks. And the reason wasn't because I wanted to try a bunch of different places, it's because that's what was available. 1 night here, 2 nights there, maybe 3 nights in a place. So I put on my big girl pants and I transferred from hotel to hotel, from hotel to hotel for 2 weeks. And goodness gracious, was that a lot of work. But I did it happily, knowing that it is what it is. That's sometimes what happens. Oh, let me turn the light off real quick. That's sometimes what happens when you are using DVC. So I just came in from outside, so excuse me as I utilize a tissue again. This is like the 8 millionth time that I've blown my nose or wiped my nose on camera. Just the way it is. Anyway, so I find this room and I'm like, oh great. I found the room. It's all 1 week at one place. It is a 1-bedroom. It's a 1-bedroom villa versus a deluxe studio, which is more room than I need, but it's literally the only thing available for the week. Even piecing together other like deluxe studios, it ended up being more points and more of a hassle than just getting the 1-bedroom. So I go to book the 1-bedroom. It should be fine, right? Because I've got my points left for this use year. And then I have, which by the way was supposed to be 50% of this year's points because, as we remember, Disney Vacation Club has been limited to only half of their points from borrowing only half of their points. It's another discussion for a completely different day as well. So anyway, and I have available half of my points from 2023 based on the current way that Disney's doing things. So, I also have more points than that. I have points from some of my family's contracts that they're not going to be using. I was like, oh great, you're not going to use them, I'll use them, it'll be wonderful, we'll figure it all out. So, I go to book my thing, and I can't book the whole week because I supposedly don't have enough points. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this here because I don't fully understand what's going on, but despite having enough points, according to the website, it won't let me borrow points, and like none of this is making sense. Sorry, it's so much to say, but basically I should have half of my points from 2023 available to use, but I don't. So I should be able to borrow those points, but I can't. And then I have what is a little less than half of my points from 2022 that I should be able to use. So go to do the whole thing, go to book on my thing, and long story short, I can't do it because I supposedly don't have enough points. I'm short by I think like 80 points or something like that. I think that's how many points I was short by. So anyway, so I'm like, all right, I don't know why this won't work, but it's supposed to be working. It won't let me borrow, like the Disney Vacation Club website won't let me borrow points from 2023. It won't even let me borrow the points that it says I have available. It's like, sorry, can't borrow points. Weird, right? Like, weird. So I'm like, not a big deal. I call up some family and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to book this. The whole week is available. It won't let me book it. Can we try and do this, go a different route? And we'll do it a different way. So this family member's like, no problem. We'll go ahead and do that. So she goes and tries to book the whole week. More than enough points available from her contracts plus my contracts combined. No go. DVC website will not let you do it. So I'm like, all right, no problem. We go like another route. And this last route is going to have her booking a certain number of days on her contract or on her contracts, then me booking a certain number of days on my contracts, and then seeing how that goes. So that's what happens. I go and she ends up being able to book some days. I am able to book some other days. So that's now 2 reservations. And then because it wouldn't let me borrow points for some reason, I know I'm saying a lot of stuff and I'm kind of going over some people's heads, but hang in there with me. I couldn't borrow points when making my chunk of reservations. So I was like, I'm curious to see if I can book one more day using only borrowed points. And it did let me use those borrowed points. So if I wanted to book everything together, it wouldn't let me borrow points. But if I wanted to book the one day separately, I could. Whatever. But needless to say, I ended up getting the 3 reservations. So we went ahead, got the first reservation squared away. All my information is on that reservation. Got the second reservation squared away. All my information is on that reservation. And the third reservation squared away. All my information is on that reservation. So now I have 3 separate reservations, and I want to make sure that I don't have to transfer from room to room, especially because I'll have a 1-bedroom villa, which essentially means I'll have a full kitchen. And since I'm going to have a full kitchen, I'm going to utilize that kitchen. So I'm probably going to go do a grocery run, make sure that I have the kitchen stocked and have all the stuff. And I don't want to have to like check out and then check back in, which is what you have to do if you have multiple reservations. I know that DVC is telling some people that that's not the case, and that multiple reservations for the same type of room in the same resort means that you can just stay there the whole time. Do not count on that being the case. You need to merge those reservations. That's what needs to happen. So I can't call DVC because DVC is basically useless when it comes to calling on the telephone. I can't chat with them on the computer because that's pretty much useless too. So I was like, I'm going to send them an email. They keep begging, send us emails, don't call us. So I sent an email. I'm like, hey, I have 3 reservations coming up and I would like to merge these reservations because it's the same room, same resort. I would just like to merge them all together. I've done this numerous times. So I get an email back from them and they're like, we see that you have 2 reservations with your name on it under your contract. So the only other thing that we can do is if you booked a 3rd reservation that's under someone else's contract, I just need to have their information, so their member number, or you can send me your reservation number and we can merge all of them together. And I was like, no problem. So I take a second, grab my reservation number, send it to them, send the email off. I then get an email from Disney Vacation Club that says that there is no way that they can merge those 3 reservations together. They can merge the 2 that were made under my contract, but not the 3rd. And in order to have that 3rd reservation merged, I need to have the member who made that reservation contact Disney Vacation Club and have them merge the contract. Excuse me, hold on, I said too many things. I have to have the member who made the reservation contact DVC and have them merge the reservations together, not me merge the reservations together. Now, I emailed DVC back and I was like, okay, but hold on a second. I have for years done things very similar to this. And it's never been a problem. You send in the reservation numbers that you need to merge together, and then they'll go ahead and merge them together for you, as long as it's your name that's on the reservation. So basically, when you fill out all the info about who's staying in that room, as long as that's you, they'll merge all those reservations together because that reservation number is your reservation number. Why is that different now? Why is that different today? Now, this is interesting because I was just having a conversation with another family member who also has a trip coming up, and they had to do something very similar. They had to make multiple reservations at the same resort for the same style room in order to make their points work, which isn't uncommon, but can I just say that is like the most annoying thing when you have to do that. It's a conversation for another day. But anyway, and you know, they had multiple reservations, multiple reservation numbers, and they were telling me that they, you know, I was talking about their trip and I was like, hey, you have to make sure you call and get those merged. And they were like, oh no, I called DVC and they said that you don't have to merge them, that you won't be moved, you won't have your room changed. Now, less than a year ago, I actually contacted DVC and asked them this very question. Do I need to merge the rooms together? Because I could get one reservation at this place for the same type of room and then a second reservation for the next day. Like, do I have to merge them together, or am I going to have to check out basically every day? And they were like, no, you have to call us and make sure that we merge them together. Otherwise, you're going to have to check out at 11 and check back in at 4, and you may be put in a different room. So to ensure that that doesn't happen, you need to let us know so we can make it all one reservation. So in 12 months' time, we went from being able to merge reservations no matter who booked your contract, to not needing to merge reservations because you weren't going to be changing rooms no matter whether or not you had multiple reservations, to having to merge your reservations, but you can't do it if someone else booked with their contract and not your contract. That's quite the change. Also, speaking of change, I had to have a little gap in between our last conversation. There's now a light on. Sorry about that. But, and the reason that I'm bringing this up at all, the reason that I wanted to have this conversation at all, is because it's so very interesting to me to see that there's just such a variety of ways that things are handled and managed with Disney Vacation Club. Now, it's not just Disney Vacation Club. This is something that happens with a lot of different places, but it happens all over Disney, okay? Someone has these rules and that's how they follow them. Someone has those rules and that's how they follow them. But rather than go absolutely crazy trying to figure all of that out, we're focusing on DVC today. And I can't help but think about just the frustration that members, including myself, have when they're dealing with this multiple different standard operating procedure situation, which isn't very standard as far as operating procedures are concerned, and the frustration that the cast members have to deal with and probably experience themselves, having people be like, what? What is this about? And why is this being handled in this way? I mean, don't get me wrong. I am 100% on team, we need to treat cast members better. And we're going to talk more about this in the future because there's a lot of conversations that need to be had about this. And I think that people need to treat cast members better. But I also think that Disney as a company, and I'm not talking just about cast members here, but the managers, the higher ups in the system, I really think that they need to find a better way to handle guests and members, for example, DVC members or whatnot, so that they don't get as frustrated as quickly and ultimately treat cast members better. You know, like if there was a standard way of doing things and Disney always followed that standard, then you wouldn't be so surprised and therefore frustrated when there was a change 3 times within 24 hours in some cases as the guest or the member, you know? And like I said, I'm one of those people who's like very much on team treat cast members better. But it's very hard for me to not respond to a cast member and say, I need you to explain this to me because this is not what the person that I spoke to yesterday said. You know? This is, and I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that I am ever rude to cast members. I am never rude to cast members. But I also don't not ask questions. You know what I mean? Like, if there is something that one cast member is telling me they can't do, and another cast member told me that they could and requested the information so that they could do it, I'm going to ask that second cast member why they can't do it if this is the information that you requested. Like, your department requested this information from me, and now I want to know why you can't do that. That's fair. That doesn't mean that I'm not treating cast members well, but I am still going to ask questions. And that's what I did. And I'm still waiting on a response. I'm still waiting on that final response from them to see if this got fully resolved, or if there's something that can be done. Ultimately, what I did was I asked in the email, like, okay, fine, if you're not going to do this and I need to get the person who booked under their contracts to do this for me, what do I need to tell them to tell you so that we can get these things merged together? Because it seems to me like there might be more confusion there, because you're not just going off reservation numbers, you're going off of contract. This seems like much more work than just doing it the way that the first cast member said that they were going to do it. Anyway, but yeah, I think the thing that really, the conversation I want to start here today, is not just one of sharing my experience with DVC, which, if you're thinking about membership and you're listening to this and you're like, that sounds like a nightmare, this is what membership sometimes looks like. More often than not, you're trying to resolve all these issues that could have probably been resolved much easier and just aren't. But I wanted to start this conversation about the way that things are done and why there is not a more standard way for things being done. I can't help but feel like part of the problem is that, I know it's going to sound a little harsh, but Disney doesn't have the same value for members now that they once did. Remember how I said, like, they're selling too many memberships? I really do think that they're starting to see Disney Vacation Club as a bit of a cash cow, and especially with new members that are coming on, there are a lot of things that new members don't expect from memberships. They have much lower expectations, and when they hear, I mean, I've had some conversations with people who are newer members, and they're like, oh, you want so much from DVC? And I'm like, no, I want half of what they promised back in 2002 when we became members. I just want like at least half of that, because that doesn't seem to be what you're getting now if you're a Disney Vacation Club member. The level of service isn't there, the level of availability isn't there, and everything as a whole, which we'll get more into some other time, but the perks aren't there like they used to be. And I'm not just talking about, like, you know, sometimes we talk about the potential perks of staying on property and how, like, there's no more like extra magic hours or whatever. They're not what they used to be. I'm not talking about something like that. I'm talking about like full-on perks being left behind, full-on things, policies, if you will, changing without much warning, and all of a sudden you're like, how is that a thing? You know? So anyway, like I said, this is a much bigger conversation to be had, but I wanted to just talk about it. I wanted to just kind of put it out there and share my thoughts about what it's like to be a DVC member, and also kind of get the ball rolling on this other conversation, like I said, about the way that guests and members and whatnot act. Although I'm not trying to excuse unexcusable behavior. You know, there's behavior out there that is absolutely unacceptable. But I can kind of see how some people get overly frustrated and how some people just get so mad by the time that they talk to a cast member, or by the time that they finally, like, are so frustrated that they're going to call on the phone because they need to talk to someone in person because this email stuff isn't working out, you know. But yeah, that's just some of the thoughts going through the noodle today. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging in there with me today. I know that this was a long one. It was a little bit ranty, but I just wanted to share it as part of the greater Disney Vacation Club conversation. So, but that's all for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like button if you're interested in videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Maybe we'll talk about this upcoming trip that I'm going to take. Until then.